Did everybody get a chance to sign in? I think everybody did, so keep track. It looks like everybody's here that said they would respond to me, so they'd be here. So appreciate everybody coming out this morning. This won't take too long. We'll figure a couple hours at the most, but we'll get you out of here by noon. But a while back, Bill talked to me about having a drill on initial response to our staging area. And so initially I thought, well, that's pretty simple. They teach us to take care of ourselves at home, take care of our neighbors, and then we go down to the staging area and be assigned to do something. But then I got to thinking about it. There's a lot of questions about that process. And there's some forms that are involved in that. One that we just redeveloped for our own CERT team. And then there's two other forms we'll talk about that Oceanside City CERT uses that we can use in that process. So we're going to go through some of this, and then at the end we're going to have this little tabletop exercise and use some of these forms. But we're just going up to the point where you respond from home, take care of yourself, your neighbors, you go down to the staging area, and en route you observe what you see on the way, any damage, whatever, and then the team leader at the staging area will assign you to go out in groups to do what we call a rapid recon of your whole division, one of the three divisions. And we're going to stop at that point. And that's what we're going to do today. Now we're going to take this in baby steps, so we'll do that today, and hopefully in early November we'll come back and we'll start right where we left off at your staging areas, being assigned by your team leader to go out and do that recon, rapid recon. And we'll talk about what to look for, what kind of damage you may see, and what happens when you come back and report that to your team leader, what you see, and then we'll actually go out and do the rescues or whatever we need to do to mitigate the situation. So we're just going to take this in baby steps. So today we're going from being notified that we have a problem to go out to the stage area. There he is. Go ahead and sign in. And go to your stage area and be assigned to recon, and then we'll stop there. Okay. So we'll try to take this, eat this elephant one bite at a time. So we're going to talk about that. So today our objectives are going to talk about mobilization. How do we get notified to respond to an emergency? And then we're going to talk about responding to your staging areas. And we're going to talk about membership levels. We're a little unique here at Ocean Hills CERT in that we have different levels of training. And we welcome people, even if you're not CERT training, to come out and help us. So we'll talk about those. We'll talk about, I have three different forms over there we'll talk about. Then we'll talk about what we call rapid recon. We're going to have the team leaders develop an action plan to send their people out on that rapid recon, and it's just for the rapid recon only. Then once we talk about that, we're going to split up and do a little tabletop exercise. I think the command staff will probably go over to the command post over here, and we can divide everybody else into the three teams and the medical team and do that. That's why I asked some of you to bring your radios so we can actually use the radios in this little exercise. So mobilization, how do we know if we're going to be activated? Now some of you remember the fires we had a few months ago. Jim called everybody with radios, told them to turn the radio on and monitor. And basically we just kind of monitored the situation at that point. We never did really activate the CERT team because we didn't need to, but if there is a mobilization, something happens, you'll get a phone call. Now Bill has that new program you hear every Thursday, turn on your radios. He can send it out via a voice message for you, those of you who have radios, and he can do that for anybody on the team. He can call up, use the voicemail to call your house and say, yeah, you need to respond to your staging area. Or you just may realize, hey, we've just had a big earthquake, we're probably going to do something. So then you would automatically respond to your staging areas once you take care of your family. Those of you who have radios, as soon as you think something's happening, turn on that radio and get a hold of your team leader or the command post and say, I'm available, I'm on the radio, I'm available, I'm responding to my staging area. I said, take care of yourself and your family first, because nobody's going to be any good if you're worried about your wife or husband or family at home if there's a problem at home. So take care of your family first before you respond. We always tell people assist your neighbors if necessary. Now we want you to get down to the or to the staging area as fast as you can, but you know, if your neighbors are in trouble, you want to try to stop and help them first. Now, I wouldn't go knock on all my neighbors' door and ask if they're okay, but if they come to my house, or if I notice a gas leak, I smell gas coming out of the house, or I see smoke coming out of their house, or if they're in their front yard and says, Tim, hey, you know, my husband's stuck under the china cabinet fell over on him, then I'll do something for them. But other than that, I'm not going to go look for them. I'm going to get down to the command post, or the staging area. So, once you take care of yourself and your family, then you're going to take the most direct route to the staging area. If the roads are open, take your car. If not, walk down there. And on the way, you're going to make damage and injury assessments. So if you see something on the way, you know, a tile falling off a roof, a tree collapsed across the road or into a house, or you smell gas, or you see smoke, note that. Now, the only things I would stop for to help is, you know, somebody that's got an injury, they're out there, or somebody lets you know they've got some kind of injury that you can take care of quickly, like bandage up, you know, bleeding or something. Or if you smell gas, try to figure out where that is and shut that gas off. Okay? Now, everybody, I'm sure all you were aware of the Napa earthquake up there, and most of the damage up there was caused by fires and because of gas leaks, gas lines breaking the house. So if we can shut that gas off as soon as we see it, then we can mitigate some of that. So if you smell gas on your way down there, stop, try to figure out where it is, and just shut the gas off and keep going and note it. If you see smoke, what can we do for smoke? I mean, possible fire in there. Fire extinguisher. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things you want to bring with you if you have a fire extinguisher, bring that fire extinguisher with you. Now, we're trained that we only put out fires that we can actually extinguish with a fire extinguisher. We're trained to only go in there with 2 people. So you're taking a chance if you go in there by yourself. So my experience, and I used to be a volunteer firefighter with the city of Bakersfield before I got hired. And sometimes I'd respond in my own vehicle because I had a radio. I'd show up before the firefighters did, and the house would be on fire. I didn't have any water or anything. But what I did do was I made sure everybody was out of that house before they got there, because that's the most important thing, is life, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'd make sure everybody's out of the house. And one thing I would do if I was responding to my staging area and I saw a fire and I couldn't fight it, number 1, I'd call 911, see if we could get the fire department there. Number 2, make sure people are out of that house. And 3, I would turn off the gas and I'd turn off the electricity. That's the first thing firefighters do when they get to a structure fire. They assign one person to turn off the gas, turn off the power. So those are the things I do. Call 911, get people out, gas, electric, notify your team leader or the command post, yeah, I got a fire at this address. And that's all you can do.
Tim?
Yes?
You talk about 2 people. But if you're going to a staging area in the initial run, and you see a fire, or you see that somebody needs help out the house, you're only 1.
Yeah. And so you're only 1, and that's the chance you have to take. I mean, it's got to be a really small fire, and you got to be able to exit, you know, if you see a fire, and if you can get in there and knock it down with the extinguisher, you got to get out. So you're taking a chance, you're kind of breaking the rules going in there by yourself. So, I mean, if it's any kind of fire at all, don't try to fight it. Knock on the doors, windows, make sure everybody's out of that house. Because sometimes there's fires and people don't know it. They're in one part of the house, and the other side of the house is burning.
What about the houses on either side?
Get those people out of there too. Because fire, I mean, if it's going to grow, it could spread. Yep, good point. So that's what I would do while I travel. I'm going to give you a form here in a minute, and you can actually use that form to write down what you see on the way to your staging area. And you know, wear your proper clothing and PPE, personal protective equipment. So, you know, long pants, good closed-toed shoes, and your helmet and vest and gloves and goggles and all that stuff that you were given when you went through the class. those kinds of things. If you have first aid supplies, you have a whole bunch, I know, I've seen your bag. Yeah. Pardon?
When's the next CERT training?
I think there's one in October,
Oh.
and I think they have spots. I don't have the dates with me.
What's it cost?
Nothing.
Really?
Yeah. Your time. Sam?
I'm concerned about the gas thing. There's a system where in an earthquake, the automatic gas cuts off. Do we have that process here?
No. Not in your individual home, you don't.
No, in a master situation. We
You mean the
had
grid?
up in Oxnard at the colony, where during an earthquake, automatic system where it clips off. the
Oh,
system.
for the whole, like, neighborhood?
It's
Exactly.
got a shock, don't they have shock switches in some of the valves?
I do not know. I've actually never heard about that.
What shock valve?
But, yeah, I mean, that may happen, but if you're walking by a house and you smell gas, you turn it off. Don't depend on anybody else. So, okay, that's mobilization.
What tools should you carry over there?
Well, tools, the main tool is something to turn that gas off.
Like what?
I didn't bring my tools, but they actually make tools for gas shut-off. A crescent wrench works good. Yeah, a crescent wrench works really well. Yeah, they sell them at Walmart, they sell them at Home Depot. And their little tool, it's got a little hatchet thing on one side, and it's also got a thing to turn off your water out front if you need to turn off the water. So, anyway, responding to the staging areas as tactical teams, as 3 tactical teams, you know, when you're en route, you know, note property damage, any injuries, road conditions you might see. And this is a rapid process, so you want to get there as fast as you can to the staging area. Like I said, the only stop for gas leaks, fires, people that are obviously injured. We report this initial information while en route to their team leader or the INS command post if you have a radio. If you don't have a radio, we just note it on the sheet I'm going to give you, and you can give that to the team leader once you get to the staging area. At the staging area, we have a sign-in sheet. We need to keep track of who we have on scene as part of accountability. We'll go over that form too here in a few minutes. So you have to sign in, and then you stand by there for an assignment by your team leader. Now, those of you who have gone through the class know a little bit about its command system. Is the first person on scene is automatic the team leader. Even if you're not designated as a team leader, even if you're not CERT trained, you're going to be in charge until a team leader or assistant team leader shows up, because somebody has to be in charge. And the same way at the command post. The first person at the command post is going to be the INS commander until Bill Harm shows up and is transferred to him, because somebody has to be in charge. We have members of the medical team here as well. So the medical team will report to the area that's in the clubhouse. We have designated here, and if there's something wrong with the clubhouse, then we'll move them somewhere else. But so if the medical team leader directs you somewhere else, that's where you'll go. Again, they'll sign in and start setting up triage and treatment areas in case patients start coming in for them to treat. And they too en route can note what they see, because there'll be our eyes and ears out there too on their way in. So that's basically what you do on the way in. Now, I talked about our different membership levels. We have the CERT team members that are graduates of the CERT basic training. How many people are like that in here? Okay, good, good. We have volunteer members, and we've divided them into active members and support members. The active members are those that have been in law enforcement, fire, or the medical field, or some kind of emergency services where, you know, they've actually done some of this in their lifetime. And then we have support members who are here to help us and assist us, and they don't have any training, but they wish to help, and we have plenty of room to have those people help us as well. So we have those 3 different levels, and depending on the level that you are is what you can do on scene. When we break up into teams, you'll see we have some people that are CERT trained and some that aren't. So what the team leader may want to do is, when he sends you out in 2-person teams, is have one CERT member and one non-CERT member go together instead of 2 CERT members here and 2 non-CERT members here. So we try to get the CERT members with the non. Okay, report forms. Reporting form goes to the team leader, and team leader reports to the incident commander. And these are forms that Bill and I worked on, and we tried to make them easy to read and easy to use, where we can actually gather information. Leon, could you pass these out? And I'd like everybody, see, I have 100. Well, everybody take 2 of those each. And in fact, yeah, and keep these forms, because if you're responding from home, you'll want these forms. Now, what Oceanside CERT and San Diego CERT require of their members is that they have a clipboard and keep all these forms on the clipboard in the possession every time they show up. Now, I didn't bring mine, but I have a clipboard that it's made out of metal, and you can open it up and put the forms inside, and I think they have some plastic ones like that nowadays. But these are the new forms. Thank you, Leon. Okay. It's a 2-sided form. It has the form on one side, and it has the cheat sheet on the back side. I love cheat sheets because, you know, in the heat of battle, you might not always remember everything you're supposed to do. So, well, let's look at the back first. Today we're talking about response. It tells you what to do when you're asked to respond. You know, when a disaster, major emergency occurs, or upon telephone or radio alert, you respond. You care for yourself and your family. You report to your staging area. While en route to staging area, assist neighbors and make damage assessments. ERN operators should report their status to the team leaders over the radio, and team leaders pass this information on to the command post. Assessing damage is here. We're going to talk about that in the next class, but it kind of gives you some clues on what we consider light, moderate, or heavy damage. It talks about, on the upper right, about communicating damage. You must communicate your findings to the team leader, who transmits this information to the command post. This information can be transmitted by radio or in writing. In either case, the damage assessment forms will be used for documentation. Okay. Locations around buildings shall be described by using the ABC standard, where you'll see the front of the building is always the A side. You know, we go clockwise around. Left would be B side, C, and D. So if you saw some damage as you're looking at the house, on the left side you say, I have a collapsed something on the B side of the building. Okay. And then down here, the 9 steps involved is size up, and we're not going to talk about that today either. But if you turn it over, you'll see the front here. This form is a little different than the one that Oceanside CERT uses, in that we can put a lot of different addresses on one form, where their form has just one address. So if you had 20 addresses, they'd have 20 sheets of paper. And to me, that's hard to visualize if I was the team leader and wanted to try to prioritize, you know, where the problems are. So we made it this way, made it a little bigger, a little easier to write on. And what I like is this is really for our community, in that you'll see, you know, put the time, the location or intersection. Do they have a help sign? All the help signs, if you see a help sign out, we'll note that. Any hazards, fire, gas, water, electrical, or chemical. Building damage, the light, moderate, and heavy. So on the back you can look and see, hey, what is light, what is moderate, what's heavy. People, and we'll put down the number of maybe injured, trapped, displaced. And over here, delayed, immediate, or dead. So I mean, if we get into the far enough where we actually do the triage, where we, the start triage, we can actually determine if, hey, these people can be delayed, or if they're immediate, or they're deceased. And then road blockage too, that's important to know which roads are blocked. So if we put an intersection down and we check that we have a road blockage on that intersection, we'll know that. Then comments too. So if there's any additional information or you want to explain something, you can just put the comments down. So I think this form is going to be really useful for the team leaders prioritize and make action, instant action plans on what to do next. Yeah, Jim?
An X or a check mark in the small box would indicate whatever that.
Right. Yeah, so like a gas leak, you just put an X there. Yeah, this house has a gas leak, or had a gas leak. Hopefully, if you notice the gas leak, somebody will turn it off. You know, you might put gas, mark gas, and on a comment said shut off, or something like that.
Do you have those things in the CERT package, that heavy package today on the turn on tools? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. You mean from that the graduates get?
Oh, it is very heavy. Yep.
Yeah. It's a tool about that long, and it'll turn off gas. It can turn off your water. Do a lot of things. Yeah. So that is the damage assessment form. I'm going to go back a second. Oh, well, let's see. And that's the back side. And so damage assessment form. Hello. You can go ahead and sign in right over there. Yeah, why don't we just give one of those to each person? Oh, I'll take one too. Oh, no, I have it over here. I'm good.
Take one or two?
Just take one. But those of you who are team leaders, assistant team leaders, afterwards, why don't you grab a couple of those before you leave? Now this form and the next one I'm going to show you are actually online at Oceanside CERT under their forms. So if you need more of that, and this damage assessment form we just looked at, I'd like to put on our website so you guys can download that and print it if you need it.
What's our website?
The CERT website on Ocean Hills Country Club.
Or was it on
You look under Ocean Hills Country Club website. Look under, right now it's under clubs, and under clubs you'll see CERT.
Okay.
Okay, this is where you check in at your staging area. This is how we're going to keep track of who's there for accountability. And this, like I said, this is the form that Oceanside CERT uses, and also San Diego, County of San Diego uses. So we need to know, who's here, what time they checked out. They has a CERT ID number, so if you have a radio, you have a CERT ID number with us, like mine's C107. And your contact. I would put my cell phone number if you have a cell phone, because you may be out in the field, we need to get a hold of you. And I'd put / if you have a radio, one of our radios, so we know we can call you on the radio. Now this one has preferred assignment, fire, medical, search and rescue. We probably wouldn't use that because we're going to utilize you wherever we think you need to be. We're not going to give you a choice. And skills, that's for when a lot of people come into the city and we have no idea what your skills are. So you may be a nurse, you may be a structural engineer, you may be a firefighter or whatever. But that's for that. A team assignment. So if the team leader assigns you to a team like team 1A or whatever, he can put that in there and the time assigned. But basically we want to know who's here and when they got here, and when you leave, when you're done, we want to know that you sign out, because we want to count for you. We don't, 2 days later, what happened to Bill Harns? We haven't seen him since he checked in. Yeah. So this is all about accountability. So, yeah. So when I'm talking about signing in, this is the form that we want you to sign in on. Now, yes.
Under team assignment,
Uh-huh.
is that sub-team?
You sub-team, yeah. So like you as a team leader would assign sub-teams to go out and search or whatever, or recon. That would be what they would be doing. That's the last, one each.
On question
Yes.
On sub-team assignments?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a set way to do that?
Yeah.
Team leader?
If you look, I have it here. In our SOGs, we kind of have it broke down. Let me find it here. Right now, let me find it. Right now, the way we have it in our org chart is under each team, like team 1, 2, and 3. For team 1, the sub-teams would be like team 1A, team 1B, team 1C, and that's how we would name them now.
A, B, C.
Yeah, so team 2A, B, and C, and team under the team leader. Now, if you decide to do it a little bit different, as long as you know and we know what you're talking about, it's just all about accountability. But if they're out in the field and you're on the radio as a team leader, you say your designation on that incident would be, you'd be team 2. Let's say you're team leader team 2. I'm team 2. I want to talk to team 2A. You say, team 2A, this, team 2, what's your status? Team 2B, team A, what's your status? So you can know who to talk to, because you don't talk to them as a person. You don't call Leon, what's your status? You say, team 2A, what's your status? And he'll call you team 1 because, or team 2. So as team 2 leader, you know, in 12 hours, we may change somebody out and let you rest for a while, so that person become team 2. Okay, instead of Jim or Bill, it's team 2. So it's always the position, not the person. Yeah. Okay, so once we get to the staging area and the team leader sees the personnel that show up, then he can start making assignments of those personnel. So assignment tracking log and CERT, you could put like team 1 and the date. And their assignment, what we're talking about right now is rapid recon. So the assignment would be rapid recon and location and general location. And you can put, we're divided up in 3 sections here. So team 2 could assign 2 people to here and just put the streets down or general area. And then we'll call them team 2A. And whoever that leader is on team 2A, we need to know who that is and their contact number, like their cell phone number or their radio, if they have radio. Their start time, end time, and who's on that team. And we just write general objectives here. Rapid recon of this area. When they get back, we maybe want to put some results, but that's how you break your teams down and keep track of them when they go out in the field. When they come back, we'll have the end time. So once they come back with that rapid recon information, then the team leader can start deciding where the worst areas are, where we're going to start really working and make their incident action plan.
The under start time and end time, 5 numbers.
Those are the people who are on your team, on that team.
The people who
Yeah.
are in the sub-team.
Yes. So you know you've got 3 people on this one team. You know where they're going, what they're supposed to be doing, their objectives. You know when they go out. You know when they come back in. And then once they come back in, you may reassign them to do something else. So that once they're back in, you may be reassigned to do something else. So that's how we can keep track of who's where and what they're supposed to be doing. Any more questions on this one? And team leaders and assistant team leaders, grab a few of these, more of these too for your file. Okay, rapid recon. I've used that term a lot. Before we do anything, as far as responding, searching, doing heavy search and rescue, one each, please. We need to figure out what's going on out there and where the problems are. what I'm handing out here now is the 4 phases of structural collapse rescue. This came right out of the California State Fire Marshal's Urban Search and Rescue class that I teach. And some of the most important things for us is underlined, but I wanted you all to read this when you get a chance because it tells you the phases and how rescue works as far as, who we help first. And it goes anywhere from phase 1 is size up, scene management, surface victim rescue. Phase 2 is search all accessible areas and void spaces. Phase 3 is selected debris removal. And then the last one is general debris removal. So we're not going to do all this as a CERT team, but I just wanted you to kind of get an idea of how all this works. We'll do the phase 1. I have most important part underlined, and we'll do part of phase 2, but we're not going to do selected debris removal. So I mean, if we have a major collapse, we're not going to be able to do that. You need the big boys. USAR teams come in to do that. They have the tools and the equipment and the expertise to do that. Then once they find as many victims as they can, that's when they do the general debris removal. That's when they bring in the big shovels and just start hauling crap off. But we won't do that. But what I wanted to reiterate here, I have it underlined on the first one, we have to figure out what's going on before we do anything. So the first and most important function is to find out how big the problem is by conducting a size up of the incident. And that's what we're going to call a rapid recon. This is done by sending out recon teams to assess the overall damage. Size up can be as simple as an organized walk around an involved structure, if it's just like one building collapsed, or complicated as involving recon of an entire community. And that's what we'll probably be doing, is the entire community. Quite often the size up function is not performed because the tendency in a disaster situation is to help the first victims or fix the first problems encountered. And that's a big deal, because as you're walking around doing your rapid recon, you'll run into something, and we have a tendency to stop and try to help somebody. But somebody down the block may need more help than this person. So by doing this, larger groups of victims and problems that are more serious may go unreported for many minutes or even hours. The emergency service providers should not stop at the first victims or problems encountered unless the situation can be quickly resolved, so the size-up process will continue. A good size-up will tell those in command if they can handle the situation with available resources. Now, I've been to a class where they actually do this, and we used it at our training facility, which is huge. And we use golf carts, and they use GPSs, and we'd drive around, and they'd have a situation, and we note it, and GPS the spot. And we did this whole training center in 5 minutes. Come back, download a computer, and they could see where the problems were on the map. But so this is really a rapid thing. I mean, I would use vehicles if you can drive. We have bicycle teams, use them too. But you want to do this as fast as possible so you can get back to your team leader and say, hey, we got major problems on Cordoba, but the rest of this is okay. So we can then, once we find that out, we know we're going to concentrate all our efforts over here. So you can. That's why we do this. Sure.
Within this community, which is very large, does the command team, is there any record of people that are totally disabled, that are dependent on a wheelchair? That
No.
So you wouldn't know?
We wouldn't know. We wouldn't know.
Huh?
HIPAA doesn't allow you.
Yeah, HIPAA, yeah. Yeah, we can't ask people if they're disabled.
But
Now,
do people register on their own? Say,
I don't,
Register with Vince.
well, the command.
yeah. Here's the problem. If we start checking on everybody that's got a disability, then we may miss some people that are really, they had a collapse in their house, they've got a major problem. Now, once we take care of the major problems, then we may be able to start going door to door or talking to people in the community. Hey, have you seen Joe? He lives up here at this house. And we might be able to, once we take care of the major problems, then we can kind of spread out and start checking on other people. But we have to take care of the major ones first, and unfortunately we don't have that database for that. On the back, the checklist for management of structural collapse incident is number 1, complete all aspects of phase 1 of structural collapse: rescue, size up, scene management, surface victim rescue. We can do that. Number 3 is control site perimeter and spontaneous rescuers or convergent volunteers. So we may have people, spontaneous rescuers, people, you know, your neighbor might come out and say, or somebody's neighbor might come out and say, hey, can I help you guys? And you know, use them if you can. Try to keep them away if they're going to be a problem. And then secure all utilities. Anything that's major, I would secure the utilities. Major collapse, you know, gas, electric.
Someone wander in the area and become a problem.
Yeah, because then there'll become a problem. And you see that all the time at the World Trade Center. Thousands of people converged on there, and they didn't know who they were.
Now, with gas, you wouldn't want to turn off the gas unless you really know there's a problem.
Correct. Yeah.
You're not able to turn it back on yourself.
Correct.
And it may take a long time to get the gas company out here to
Yeah.
turn it back on.
Yeah.
So you want to just be selective.
Only time I'd turn it off is if I smelled gas at that house or if that house was on fire. That's the only times I would turn it off. So yeah, this is interesting reading. It'll kind of give you an idea how all that works. So rapid recon, the first and most important function is to find out how big the problem is by conducting a recon of an incident. So we want to find out where we had the biggest problems in our community. Some may not be affected at all, and some may have major damage. So we need to know that first before we actually respond to help. So no planned search operations should begin until initial triage is completed in order to establish priorities. So search operations is just like individual houses, you know, searching around the house for people. Do not stop at the first victims or problems encountered unless the situation can be quickly resolved so the recon process can continue. A good recon will tell those in command if they can handle the situation with available resources or if they're going to have to call in additional resources. And in a time of emergency, we may not be able to call professional resources, but Team 2 may have a whole lot of people here respond, and they don't have a lot to do, but Team 1, you know, has 4 people that responded to their staging area, but they've got major damage, so we might borrow people. So we need to know who's where and where the major damage is, so we can kind of, as commanders, we can kind of shift people to where we need them. The information gathered in the rapid recon allows a team leader to establish his priorities in more detailed searches. So once the rapid recon is done, well, even before the rapid recon is done, the first action plan is to send people out on that rapid recon. So once people come to your staging area and you know you have 4 people, 6 people, 10 people, then you can divide them into those sub-teams and send them out to do the rapid recon. And you assign them, you know, one team's going to take this area, one team's going to take this area, one team's going to take this area, or however you assign them to go out and do that search and report back to me and tell me what you have.
Are you going to include a map?
Yes, we need to get maps. That's one thing we need to do. We need to get maps actually to everybody so we know the streets, because I don't know the street names that well either. And I'm a visual guy, so I have to actually see it instead of just say Zamora Way.
Are we using the damage assessment form during the rapid recon?
Yes. Yeah, we are. So when this comes back after the rapid recon, then the team leader can visually see, hey, I've got big problems on this street, and what they might be, or, you know, I got some minor problems, or if there's nothing, if you don't see anything, we don't write it down, but hopefully he'll be able to put these together and say, visually see where the major problems are. And so once he finds that out, then he can make assignments for teams to go out and you know, do a more thorough check assessment of those damaged buildings. Yes?
I think maybe for the people who have not been to one of these meetings, one of the missions that they always say for the CERT or for emergency personnel is to do the greatest good for the greatest number of people.
Mm-hmm.
So these things where we say, if you can't do something for the person immediately and, you know, things of this sort, you may be passing up 15 people further on down that may be in worse shape.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why we have to, get an overall idea of what our major problems are before we start attacking those problems. Very good. Okay. So our first action plan is just sending people out for the rapid recon. And so the more detailed assessment should take place after structures are initially prioritized. So which areas are more heavily damaged, and are there known injuries in any of these areas? So those are major things we're looking at. And basically that's all we're going to do today in our little drill, is get up to this point where we actually, before we send them out to the recon. I just wanted to explain that rapid recon to you so you know what we're going to be doing. But
As part of the assessment, you can also note these placards that we've given.
right, yeah, and that's why we have the help sign check thing on here. And if there's a help sign out, put a check there, because that will be one place we'll eventually want to at least get back to and see what the problem is. If Mrs. Smith is out there in the front lawn waving down, has her help sign, yeah, you probably want to stop and see what the problem is. Because Mr. Smith may be under, a piece of furniture or something. And that's another thing about the Napa thing, earthquake just recently. The only injuries were things falling on people. Like, how you doing?
Just look at the road. I'm going.
Okay.
Thanks.
That one boy was injured because he was sleeping in the living room and the fireplace fell on him, And then, some other people, things falling on them, that's what injured them. And there were fires because of the gas leaks. And those are the major things. And that was a major earthquake. And they have, what we have here is called light frame construction. We'll talk more about that next time. But there's not a whole lot of things that can hurt you in light frame construction other than things that are in your house. So the team leaders will develop an action plan. The initial action plan will be to do a rapid recon. And he needs to communicate his plan to the command post. And so what we need to know from him is what's your current situations, what's going on, how many people do you have on hand, and what's your plan of action. And his first plan of action is we're going to do a rapid recon. I've got 6 people showed up. I have 3 teams. We're going to do a rapid recon. Does he have any needs? Do he need some more people over there? Does he need any tools or supplies? Any major concerns he has? That's what we want to hear in the command post. We don't want to hear this address, this address, this address. We have a broken window. This address. We got a tree falling in the front yard. We don't want to know the details. We want to know the overall situation that the team leaders have. So we want to know how many people he has. Does he need more people? Does he need more supplies? Once he gets that recon back and sees what the major problem is, he may say, hey, we have enough people, or I have a couple of people I can spare. And another team leader says, hey, we need lots of people over here. So that's what we need to know at the command post, is what your needs are and what we can do to help you.
That microburst that they had yesterday, would that be enough for us to actually activate?
That may, because some of those trees were in, they may have been into buildings. If we had trees and things down into buildings, I would activate for that, because we can get there and help. Now, because it's not area-wide, the professional resources probably won't be strained to their limits. Yeah. They'll be responding, but I would activate for that just in case, because if it happened here, we don't know if it happened a mile away. It could have been happened there, and all the local professional resources may be busy, tied up. So yeah, that'd be a good one. And you know what? Even if they did respond, it'd be good practice for us to do that. So, we got good time. So we have representatives from each team here, and I kind of wrote them down. And it's interesting because all the command staff is here. Team 1, I have 4 people. Team 2, I have 8 people. Team 3, I have 4 people. And the medical team, I have 5, according to people who signed up. I may even have more. But it's kind of indicative of what we may have. Team 2 has a whole bunch of people. Team 1 and 3 only have 4. And you know, that may be, and probably will be, the way it is on a real incident. Because we're not always all going to be here, or we may not all be able to respond. We may have to stay home and help out doing something. So we, you know, we may get a few at one place and a whole bunch at another. Might be on a cruise. I'm leaving in a couple weeks. So.
Let anything happen when you go.
I can tell you that the average radio check-in every Thursday is about 24 or 36. Isn't that the number they give you? About 24 or 36, but I think the highest.
2/3.
2/3. And you know, that's a good response. If we got 2/3 of the people to respond to a real incident, I'd be happy.
We'd have as low as 8.
Yeah. And so, that, I mean, that's just it. That's just the way it is. We can't all be here all the time.
No?
Ellen's here all the time. We didn't tell her she could go anywhere, did we? So we're going to break up into our teams. I think the command staff, I think we'll just go and use the command post. And the other groups can break up into teams just in here. And what we're going to do is you report to your team leader. Team leader is going to have the sign-in list. I want you all sign in. And then, oh, I've got some cards here I'm going to hand out to some of you and little situations that you see on the way in. And he'll note those on his damage assessment form. And then team leaders is going to report his situation status to the operations, how many people we have, and if we, you know, what kind of damage we may have. Just in general terms, you know, I got 2 gas leaks, you know, some trees falling down here, this intersection blocked or whatever. And then I want the team leader just to do an action plan for rapid recon only. So when you get to that, divide your people into 2, 4, or 3 or 4 teams, and make an assignment, just a general area assignment for them, and to do a rapid recon. And that's all we're going to do today. And just remember the proper ICS terminology. So the team leader for Team 1, his radio designation would be Team 1, and Team 2 is Team 2. Medical team would be medical team. And if, yeah, so that's the way that works. And now, who do you report to? Team leaders, who do you report to in the command staff? It's the commander or operations if the operations is operating. No, it'll be operations. It'll be Team 1. Say Team 1 will say operations Team 1, and I'll say Team 1. This is operations, because somebody may spell me, you know, at 12 hours. So the position stays. The people may move. Now, go ahead.
After we report to the staging area, do you maintain a presence at the staging area?
Good question. Team leaders should stay at the staging area. Because he has to maintain that situation. It's hard for the team leader to go out and do something and still be in charge of his team. And it's very hard because as in the fire service, the first engine on scene, the captain is the instant commander. Well, he's trying to fight fire and be captain, be instant commander at the same time. It's really hard, but they have to do that. Now, sometimes they can pass that command on to the next incoming captain, especially if he has to go inside and do something. So, but somebody has to be instant commander, and it's a lot better to stand out here and command everybody than it is to be inside doing hands-on stuff and try to maintain situational awareness, what's going on with all your people. So. It's best to keep somebody there at the staging areas, and that'd be the team leader. What else was I going to say? Same way, once that fire builds, a battalion chief comes on scene, he takes over command. He's standing out here at his vehicle, watching over the whole thing. And I've seen them where they try to do hands-on, you just can't control anything when you're doing hands-on. So we try to keep them away. So like these teams that only have 4 people, and we have team leaders for those teams. So Jim is team leader of Team 3, so he'll have 3 people. Well, he can't send one person out by himself, so he'd probably send all 3 of them as a team to go to do that. And it takes longer when there's only one team going out looking over your whole area, but that's just That's just the way it is. And, you know, Team 2 has some extra people, and we won't do it today, but we could give him at least one more person. Then he has 2 teams to go out. Okay? And same way with Team 1, Charlene only has 3 others besides herself here today that I had that signed up. So I just wanted for me to visualize what we had, what kind of response we've had. So terminology, so team leaders will be talking to operations, and operations will be talking to team leader, and then plans will be keeping track of all this stuff as we get the information in, and the incident commander's overall charge of everything, but you probably won't hear him on the radio unless unless there's no operations. If there's no operations assigned, incident commanders will be the one you talk to. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, who do we have here from Team 1? Charlie? Okay. Oh, okay, so I do have 4, yeah. And Team 2. Okay, now, Team 2, our team leader, wasn't able to make it, so I've got, how many on Team 2? So guess what happens when we don't have a team leader, assistant team leader for a team?
Make somebody.
Somebody's the team leader. Who wants to be a team leader of Team 2 today? It's easy. It's easy. This is the easy one. There we go. Norm. Okay, and then Team 3, I got Jim, and so we got 4. Yeah. And then we have the medical team. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, this one didn't show up. Okay, so the medical team has a team leader. Carolyn's here. So I think what we'll do, let me hand these out. This kind of just gives you something to write down. Team 1 leader. There's Charlene. There's Charlene. Oh. You can hand those out to your people, Charlene. Team 2 leader, Norm. You can hand these out to your people, and this is what they see on the way in to your staging area. And Team 3 is Jim.
It's good and it's bad.
And Team 4 is Carolyn. There we are. Okay, so now, do you remember what channels we use? Okay, amongst your teams, you know what channels you use, right? And we probably won't be talking amongst our teams on the radio because you're going to be doing this face to face. But when the team leader talks to the command post, what channel does he use? Channel 1. So we'll be on channel 1 in the command post, and once you guys come and everybody signs in, and pardon? Signs in with your team leader. And once you sign in with your team leader gets the information, the assessment that you find on the cards. He'll fill this out, and then he's going to develop an action plan. Just divide you into teams to do that rapid recon, and then he's going to report to us, his status. Now he can report the status before he does the instant action plan. Just say, hey, I have 5 or 4 people on my team. I'm prepared to do an instant action plan. We have some gas leaks. We got possible fire here. Whatever those cards say, and just kind of summarize that to us. Okay? Why don't we'll go to the command post, and you guys can break up in your 4 teams here, and we'll just turn on a radio, and when you're ready to start transmitting to us, we'll be over there, and you can give us your information. Okay? And once you've made that IAP, instant action plan, then we're done. We'll just come back in the room, kind of talk about it, we'll be done.
Right here. And gas leak. Right there, okay. Am I supposed to communicate? Okay. It was on the Give this to him to report to
Operations, this is T-35 Golf.
Operations, go ahead.
Tactical team number 1 has done its rapid response.
Operations, this is Team 3, over. Team 3, this is Operations. You copy?
Where's the part of the loop?
Okay.
Okay. You didn't have your name on. You're a long way off.
Right, I love that.
Like my notes? Okay, how'd that go? Good. It was a little different, huh? Yeah, and I thought, actually, overall, I thought it went pretty well. We're all used to using our personal radio designations on the radio. So, you know, every Thursday we do that. I'm C107. But when we're here in an incident, I'm operations. And so team leaders, just remember that when you're a team leader, you're team 1, 2, or 3 on the radio. So we know which team you are, right? Yeah. And if we have to change somebody out to replace you, they'll take over that radio designation, team 1, 2, or 3, or medical team.
So shouldn't we use what we did today on Thursday?
No, because on Thursday, it's individual. Yeah, it's roll call. Yeah.
They could check in and say, this is C21, I am team leader, team 2.
They can do that, yeah. But in a real instant, the real team leader may not be there. Anybody could be team 1, 2, or 3, or medical team, right? So anybody can be that position. That's a position. That's, yeah, it's not a person. It's a position.
We can only call back on channel 1 because they're operating channel 1.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and the team leaders are talking to us on channel 1, but amongst their team, they're talking on a different channel, right? It's because we don't, so we at the command post, we may be on scan, we may hear that, but we're not going to be talking to people on those other channels. So it's kind of hard for team leaders to be doing 2 channels. Right. And like we did that in the fire service when I was battalion chief on the back of the car, the guys would be on one channel and I'd be talking to the comm center on another channel. So I'd actually use 2 radios. I cheated. And then I put on the antenna, I had these little colored tubes. I knew blue was channel 3 and white, yellow was channel 1. So if I heard it, I knew which radio to grab. So, because it gets confusing.
And it's hard when there's noise. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you had a lot of people. And somebody couldn't hear me to, I think that was Team 2. Team 3, yeah.
Team 3.
Yeah, and I don't know why.
Because the noise level around.
Yeah, and
overwhelming.
Right.
We even switched radios to cut in the repeater outside.
Yeah, and so but hopefully in an instant, of course, there's going to be chaos, but you won't have 20 people gathered around you doing that. But no, the reports are really good. Team 3.
Yeah.
For this exercise, we were just going to come in and have you assign people for the make assignments to go out and do the rapid recon, and so we weren't breaking into teams yet. All you were doing is gathering information, what the people saw coming to the staging area, and then we wanted to make assignments from that from people you have to go out and do your rapid recon. So, I mean, the reports are really good. Jim was keeping track of all that for us. Number of personnel you have is really important, so we know. I mean, Team 2 had 8 people. Yeah, so I was going to steal some of those people and send them other places because these teams with only 1 leader and 3 people needed some help to do that. So in real life, we would have asked you to send 2 people here and 2 people there, or whatever, to help out on that. But I want to know your comments and what you guys think.
We had a tree down and a person injured. The tree was blocking the road. So in this case, we got to get, I mean, do we triage the person and then make the tree a priority, or how do
Well, the tree is just information we need to know.
Okay.
Who takes it out?
Well, we're not going to worry about that right now.
If it's blocking an emergency vehicle.
Yeah, they'll just need to know they have to come one direction or another. And so that's just something we'll put on the map, and we'll need to know they can't get through there right now.
That's right. Say whether it's a partial blockage of the roadway or a full blockage.
Yeah, and that's just information, okay, to deal with. Now, you had a person that was injured, and I don't remember how severe.
Severe lacerations.
Okay, so that person, and you're gathering all this as you're walking into or driving into the staging area, that person, I would stop, quick bandage, and keep going.
They said it was major, though.
Was it major?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's more than rapid enough.
Well, hey, if you've been through the START class, you do what you can, you wrap it, and you go, move on. You can't save everybody, and that's the problem. But I mean, if that's the only person, yeah, I'd stay there and treat that person. Or if there's very few people that need to be treated,
Somebody's around that could possibly, you need to stop the wound from
yeah.
bleeding.
Oh,
Somebody
that's it.
might-
Okay, she's got a major laceration on her. We wrap it up, and you're the neighbor. Hold this really tight and hold it up above her heart, and don't let go. That's what you do. You sign. See you later. We'll be back. We'll be back.
And a question regarding if you're walking up the street, let's say up Cordova, and somebody has a major, we got the radios. Why don't we call the medical team or go to the center?
We can do that. You can do that now.
Right. So who would then call the center first, right?
You'd call operations and say, operations, we need some medical help, and if medical team has the personnel available, we could send them out,
Right.
one or two
You
out to work on
your
it.
staging area once they arrive or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't wait till you get to the staging area to call medical support?
No, I mean, if you have a radio, you can report this stuff on the run before you get to your staging area. Yeah. Eventually, though, it needs to be documented on paper, right?
So if if another team finds an injured person, they're going to report to command, and then are they also going to report to medical?
Only if they can't handle it. They won't report. The operations. They'll come this way.
Okay.
And
All right, that's what I wanted to know.
but hopefully they can handle it in the field. If they can't handle it in the field, then hopefully maybe we can send some medical people out. Now you had a broken leg,
Yeah.
and you sent some people out for that, right?
We chose a team.
Yeah. No, that's good because you don't want to move a person with a broken leg, especially femurs or something.
Wouldn't that person go to the team leader? Team leader then goes to incident command then goes to
Yeah.
medical.
Yeah. It kind of go like.
But if you're not,
But if you're on the run to
you would go directly to command, wouldn't you?
Pardon?
If you're in transit, would you
No,
call
you're not
command?
supposed to.
And-
You're supposed to go to team leader.
You're supposed to go to team leader. If you don't have team leader yet, you can call
Okay, you try to call the
operations.
team leaders there.
Yeah, try your team leader first.
And then they'll do, okay.
Yeah.
At
You're trying
that
to get
point,
more
how do you
involvement.
know you have a team leader present there? He
Well,
might be in a,
hopefully the people on the radios are kind of communicating because everybody turns on the radio, and if I was on team one, I'd say,
So-and-so checking in.
so-and-so checking in to team one leader. And if I don't hear Charlene on the radio, I'll say assistant team leader, or is there anybody at staging yet on team one?
Yeah.
And Ross says, yeah, I'm there. I said, you're the team leader. And I'm going, this is my report.
Because if Jim is not here, first one at the staging area becomes team leader.
Yeah, so whoever's at staging area, who's the team leader at staging area? That's all you have
So
to
you
ask.
ask who's at the staging area.
Yeah.
Whoever picks
Or
up.
is there anybody on team one at the staging area? Yeah. And it's going to be chaotic. I guarantee it's going to be chaotic.
oh, absolutely.
But isn't the general policy to keep the medical team in one location?
We try to. But-
Then, I mean, they wouldn't be making house calls.
No.
Unless the patient is not movable.
Right. And some people we can't move, and some people we can probably handle. I mean, I know a lot of people you don't even have to be a CERT member to have some first aid training. There's a lot of people here that have first aid training, but you get some of that in the CERT thing. But a lot of that we can handle out in the field. But major things, you don't want to move somebody with a broken femur. That hurt. I mean, they're very, very painful.
In addition to the treatment, some call for diplomacy because that person with the broken leg considers himself a priority.
Yeah, he does. Everybody, guarantee everybody considers himself a priority. I don't care if it's a broken leg or a small cut on their arm, or they got a broken window in the house there. How you doing, Priscilla? I didn't see you there. And did you sign in? When you leave, that'd be great. But I mean, everybody considers themselves a priority. Now it's up to us and team leaders to try to actually prioritize those things. And sometimes it's just the best guess, but life is always over property, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? No, I'm really pleased with the way this one worked out. Now, first part of November, we're going to continue on this, and we're going to start right where we left off. You're going to have your teams gathered together, and we'll equalize the teams a little bit better then. We'll transfer some to the other, and then you make the instant action plan on doing the rapid recon. Then you're going to split your teams up and go out and do that rapid recon and come back and tell you what you got. So we know where in our village the major damage is or major priorities are. And what we're going to do is talk about assessments. And I have some photographs and things like that.
Do you have a date for that? So
No, I don't.
calendar right now and
I don't. It'll probably be the first 2 weeks in November, one of those days. But I don't have a date yet, so.
This is where it goes.
Let's see.
Lost it again. Put it in my other pocket.
That's not where it should go.
Tim, I want to
Yes.
thank you for putting together
Yes.
all of this.
Oh, you're welcome. You know,
I'm sure we all found this to be beneficial and realized how much we were lacking in experience and practice. So, thank you for
well, you're welcome. And
taking care of this.
you know, we can talk about this all day long, but to actually put it into to use and try to communicate and do this stuff and use the forms, I mean, that's where you actually really learn. And you know, we'll find deficiencies like we need some maps for everybody to have so they know the streets and that's in the area and things like that.
Does the SPCA come into disaster areas to help with the pets? Because there's like multiple.
I don't think they do.
Unless there's an emergency and they need to, like a dog that's attacking people or something like that. No, I don't think.
Yeah, they just don't generally come. Now, Ellen's in charge of the pet unit. We have our own pet unit in our CERT team, and they have cages and things to put
we're
animals
looking
in.
at- We're looking at an area for a staging area for pets that might need to be temporarily kept
Right,
aside.
and so that's a good idea. And then, you know, pets might get lost or running around. We'll try to get them, put them in the cage so somebody comes and find their pet.
Yeah, Penny and I we have done some research within Mallorca's village, and we found, of course, we've got the oldest village, and our biggest problem we have there is location and putting a location for your health sign. Most homes in our area do not have windows or anything available that the average person can put that sign up and says, hey, I need help or I'm okay. Where our suggestion has been is that you can go down to Staples for about 50 cents and get one of those clips. One screw on that wood trim on your outside of your house, you can put that on it.
Yeah.
Because most homes don't have a spot to put that sign.
Yeah.
Secondly, are you going to be able to get to it?
Yeah.
And third, I've talked to a lot of my people in the area, they don't even know where they put that sign.
I've had so many people say, what sign? You know, we know everybody got it. We stuffed all the envelopes. We know they went out. Then there's people say, what sign? And so, I mean, you know what? We can't.
You can take them to the well.
Yeah, you can't make a drink. Yeah, sorry, Jim. Oh, go ahead, Ellen.
You also have some of the non-resident owners that might not have given them to their tenants.
That's right.
We kept ours because we were in the process of doing a new lease. We kept ours until we had the new tenant in there, and then we gave the new tenant the sign.
Yeah, good idea.
Most of the homes have gates, and the gates are metal.
Yeah.
You can go down and go to a lot of stores, and you can find little round Alnico magnets that are about the size of anything from a nickel to a quarter. I guarantee you that if that goes through just a couple of pages, it'll stick to that gate through pretty good power.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, put a string on it, hang it on your bush. But
put some string in the hole and hang it on the bush.
Yeah. Yeah.
An Alnico magnet, as simple as that, sometimes it works.
Okay.
I want to mention, before we break up, for those of you that have the Bofang radios and don't have a spare battery, I have some up there, so see me after we break up, please.
Anyway, thank you all for coming, and I'll let you know soon what we're going to do in November, and I think it's a great exercise today.